Welcome, everyone, to the Wildly Opinionated News Hour, to Todd's World. I'm Todd. Carrie is back. I'm so glad that you're back, Carrie.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm
How's your
glad to be back.
vacation? You did a little call-in, so we got a little bit of a report. You're in Tampa, right?
Yes, that was really
Enjoying the
fun.
sunshine.
The sunshine, the cocktails. I came home to cold weather. It was really weird.
Cold in Jacksonville?
It was chilly. Chilly is maybe more appropriate word. Well, I'm glad to be back. I have to say, belated happy birthday to
Well,
Todd,
thank you.
the presidente of Todd's world,
Yeah,
the dictator of Todd's
it's my world.
world.
No.
It's your world. Yeah, happy birthday, man. I hope it was a great
Thank
week.
you. It's a
Did your girls,
milestone. I'm a
did your
half a
girls
century now.
half a
Can we
century?
even believe it?
I
I know
can't
I
believe
don't look
it.
a day over 35.
You really don't. You really don't. I feel like 35 is sounding more and more realistic, like more relatable every day.
Yeah, see, you're
You
growing younger.
I am. I've decided to age backwards. Did your girls take care of you? Did you do some fun?
Yeah, it
Did
was
they
fun.
spoil you with
It's a
attention?
busy week here because we've got the two of my daughter and my
Yeah.
stepdaughter are both in the Little Mermaid musical, and
So
so the
fun.
performances are all, Thursday to Saturday, and they had the tech
Yeah.
week leading up to it, and it's just so
Such
it's
a
been a lot of
blast.
that. Kate, my daughter, does the chef.
The French chef.
And
I
then
love it.
Allie does one of the maids and ensemble. I think Kate's on some ensemble too.
So
So,
fun.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So cool.
I enjoy it. I enjoy musicals. I enjoy plays and musicals.
Totally. Well, especially like, I mean, your group there looks really talented. I think their director must.
You know what I mean?
I think you should write a
No, I'm too
critical
busy with Todd's
review
World.
of
No
that.
Todd's World musicals. Someday, 20 years from now, after we're wildly
No.
successful, we'll have
Yep.
Todd's World the musical
There
on
we go. Oh
Broadway.
my gosh. Ooh, who will play us?
I don't
Someone 35 or younger will play us. How about that?
There'll be this is forever
That's
before
funny.
he was that forever banned from social media.
Yeah, before he was banned from TikTok and YouTube.
TikTok is
You're
so
getting
annoying.
banned everywhere. I mean,
YouTube
getting
hasn't banned me.
threats.
They just don't like I started
Threats.
doing YouTube shorts, guys, for everybody who
Uh-huh.
doesn't we're putting everything on YouTube now. I got to go back and put some more videos up of the old
Okay.
ones.
Do you have like old videos? I
I
don't know.
have
You
all
can't.
the videos going back to I'm not going to go back into the
Okay.
insurrection days, but
But
I'd
hold
like to
on.
go
You
back
can't go.
to maybe where we broke off beers with Jesus and
Oh
Wildly
boy.
Talented.
But wait. But I didn't know. Like we were. I was in pajamas sometimes.
That's okay.
Like,
It's
oh
all part of
gosh.
the charm, Carrie.
I didn't know that those videos would ever be released. Famous last words.
That's what she
That's
said.
funny. That's what she said.
So you've been paying attention to the news at all?
A little bit.
A little bit.
I got to see the big speech, the big
That
address.
was kind of fun, right?
That was excellent. That was an excellent toe back in the pool of the current events for sure.
There's so much going on. I was trying to.
Hmm.
There's just some funny stuff out there. I mean, there's just Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine everywhere. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Hmm.
Here's our. Let me make sure my sound's shared. We were messing around
Okay.
with sharing videos
Oh,
earlier,
I know. We probably messed it all up.
and I want to make sure. I
I
think
got
we're
some
good.
sneak previews of The
The
Little
Little
Mermaid.
Mermaid.
I
Les
love that.
Poissons.
Les Poissons.
Kate, yeah, she does kill that.
Hysterical.
They all
So
do so
funny.
good. They really do.
It's really
Allie's
sweet.
really good at like kind of the technical side of it. Like you
Hmm.
can tell when she's like her movements and like the way that she does things, like it's real
Hmm.
precise. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Very
kind of like cleaning
intentional.
up
Like,
things and watching everything. I
it's
actually have told
cool.
her I think she could be like a good director because she has a good eye for all those kinds of things. You know what I mean?
It's exciting.
Not everybody does. That's kind of like a talent thing. You know what I mean?
It is. It's something that you have a knack for. And yeah, she definitely
I'm not sure
does.
I would necessarily be like that. You know what I mean?
Now, you'd be more like the cigar smoking, sitting
Yeah.
back in a chair, hollering out, like, do this, do that. Well, a cigar.
A cigar. This is our good friend.
Okay.
Jasmine Crockett. We don't
Oh,
want to we don't want to
yay.
miss her for a second.
I know.
This was at the speech. She was real excited.
This is Greenland. Why we fighting with Greenland? We fighting with Canada. We fighting with Mexico. Yet we
Yeah.
in love with Putin. What is happening? Like, this is not America. This is a terrible nightmare. Somebody slap me and wake me the fuck up, because I'm ready to get on with it. Greenland. Why we
Hold on.
Wow.
That's 17 seconds we got to relive. you,
Yeah, there's like
you
so
feel
much.
like you're not quite ready for it after the whole thing.
Well, I just feel like there's so much to unpack there.
This is
First of all,
Greenland. Why we fighting with Greenland? We fighting with Canada. We fighting with Mexico. Yet we in love with Putin. What is happening? Like, this is not America. This is a terrible nightmare. Somebody slap me and wake me the fuck up, because I'm ready to get on with it.
I agree. Somebody slap her.
she sounds like a girl who's
I'm
about
with
to
them.
get into a slap fight in the school cafeteria. First of
think
all,
she's
she does
ready.
not sound like a congresswoman. What on earth?
Here's the same night. This is another 10-second clip. This is Jasmine.
Donald Trump, anything tonight, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to grow a spine and stop being Putin's hoe.
Oh my gosh, are we seriously here?
Stop being Putin's hoe. You know what the funniest thing
Wow.
is about Jasmine Crockett is that
Do
if you
tell.
go back, I saw some videos of her before she got into Congress this week,
Hmm.
and she doesn't sound hood at all. Like she doesn't sound ghetto
Well, I
at
was gonna
all.
say she sounds like a
She
teenage
sounds
girl in the cafeteria.
completely like put together and like she has refined speech, this whole thing. And then I'm just telling you, this is a character.
Yeah.
Jasmine knows how to act. That's my
Yep,
whole
she's
point. She
playing a
needs to be a
character.
director for
Yep.
high school musical and acting.
Kind of like that lady
That
that
hoe
ran
knows
for
how to act.
kind of like that lady who ran for president who would just put on like an accent, like
Yeah.
kind of like that. Only Jasmine sounds like she's
Hillary wasn't very good at
practiced.
it though. Jasmine's good.
No, I wasn't talking about
Like,
Hillary.
oh, who are you talking about?
I love how you've already forgotten her.
Kamala? Did she put on accents? See,
Oh
I
yeah,
remember Hillary doing it at
bunch of
like
them, bunch
Hillary
of
would go down
accents.
south and she'd be like, in here, but she was horrible.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
she
Kamala,
did.
I think, was a little better.
Kamala did Southern. She did like a Dominican kind of thing.
I've
She
forgotten
did
Kamala already.
Hispanic. I know.
I
I
feel
didn't
like I
even.
told, maybe I didn't. Did I say that while this whole Kamala thing was going on that Kamala will be forgotten so quickly? I think one of the last things I wrote, which this is sad because this was a while ago, it tells you how
Hmm.
I haven't been writing enough, is I wrote The Rise and Fall of Kamala Harris,
Oh.
that little op-ed thing I
Oh
did.
yes, yes. I do remember that.
And that I think I
I
made the
forgot
point
who it
in
was
there that
about, but I remember
she's
her
going to be
name.
like so quickly forgotten. It'll be like she never existed.
Right. You know, when they talked about her running again, I was like, she's not going to make it. She's not going to stay in the spotlight. It's just too embarrassing. But okay, back to the actor, the actress,
The
Jasmine
actress,
Crockett.
the actress
What,
congresswoman.
Congresswoman,
I
what's
think
up
she
with
went
the,
from being like worth about her net worth of about 30,000 now, and she's been in Congress 4 years, somewhere between 2 and 4 years.
okay.
And I think she's worth about 9 million right now.
Oh,
So it's
good.
been pretty profitable, her acting career.
Yeah.
She's
Congress is
done really
playing
well.
well. Her acting gig is paying really great.
That show she's part of has been long running.
You know what, Todd?
One of the most
Screw this
profitable
show.
shows in the world is the U.S.
Screw,
Congress.
yeah, screw this show. Let's go run for Congress. We could be like a team.
If you
I don't
wanted to be
know.
corrupt and rich, that's what we would do. But
Yeah.
if you want to make a difference, Jesus calls us not to worship money, and we have to
All right, fine.
expose the liars.
I would do really good things with the money.
Well, hopefully we can get the money anyway. Just
Yeah.
not corruptly,
And do good things.
not skimming it off the top.
Exactly.
Like I
From
saw
the
something.
taxpayers.
I saw something on X this week where I can't remember who it was, but
Hmm.
this guy's like, how did we ever let things get this bad? How did Congress ever let things get this bad? And
Hmm.
I said, oh, it was you know who it was? It was Representative Eli Crane.
Oh,
Insurrection.
in insurrection.
Anyway, and I don't know anything about him. I still don't. But anyway, I know about the Eli Crane that matters in insurrection. But
Right.
this was Representative Eli Crane, and he was like bemoaning how Congress could have ever let it get this bad.
Yeah.
Let it get this bad. Jeez, I mangled
It's
that.
wild.
And
Here we are.
and and
I
I replied and I said, is this a real question? Like, they figured out that if they started funding every other country in the world and every war in the world, that
Mhm.
they could rake 50% off the top and never get caught. And they did it.
They did it.
It's like nothing about this is shocking.
They've done it for, it looks like decades.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we know, how could anybody not know they were doing it? How does Dianne Feinstein have
Mhm.
her entire 45-year career in Congress and end up being worth 170 million when she dies? I mean, it's right in plain sight that they're doing it. This is what
I know.
drives me crazy. And
I know.
everybody's like, oh my God, I would have never.
Well, we like to believe, here's how this happens. We love our country. We love our country, and we like to believe that the people leading us and
Love our country
representing
too.
us love our country too,
Okay.
and believe, that we're all in line with the same values and the same goals. And I mean, I just, who wouldn't want to just rest comfortably and think and just blindly believe that if we just kind of go on with our lives? Because we're not,
Yeah.
you know,
You're
we
right.
don't feel like we have to be watchdogs. We're just regular citizens trying to pay the mortgage.
Well, that's kind of what I don't know. You might not have had time to
Mhm.
listen to the show last week where I had
I
to do
heard,
it
I
solo.
did hear it. I did.
And I kind of went off on the boomers a little bit. And that was
Oh,
kind of that's kind
yeah.
of my bitch about the boomers.
I know. I
And it's
missed you
not
going off on the
it's
boomers.
not all boomer. It's not I think I
Okay.
made that point, although your mom didn't seem to know that.
She was defending her boomership.
But I said I understand why everybody wants to think that things worse or and it's more comfortable to just live out
Yeah,
the rest of your days. Like it's not that bad. And just
absolutely.
watch the mainstream media
Yeah,
and okay, they must
it's
be
like the
telling the truth.
Matrix. It's like the Matrix stuff. Do you
Yes,
want to
it's
know or do you not
exactly
want to know?
like the steak still tastes good in the Matrix, right? That's what the guy said. Remember who was it? Oh God, I just watched it not that long ago.
I was
I
going to say
can't
I
remember the
haven't
guy's
seen
name.
that movie
But
in
remember the guy who kind of
a minute.
like turns traitor on him? He's like in the ship, but then he
Okay.
turns him over to the machines because he
Okay.
wants to be plugged back into the Matrix because he misses how steak tastes. He says it still
Oh,
tastes the same to me.
I would
And
miss I would miss that.
yeah, and I mean that's kind of his whole
Hmm.
thing is what is that's what makes the Matrix so good and so applicable to so many things we're dealing with is like
Hmm.
what is reality exactly?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Is it
It's
what
like
you believe or is it, yeah.
and
You
does it
know,
matter? How
well,
much
I,
does it
I was going
matter?
to say, this is really like the basis of most of the philosophy courses that I took in college. I had a fantastic philosophy professor at Hillsdale,
I bet you
and I remember
did.
us, and I remember us
But they
spending
were all
in it.
pretty fantastic professors at
They
Hillsdale.
were, they
I've
were
watched some
cool.
of them. I do their online courses. Pretty
They
good.
were very cool. But I remember a whole class period us talking about, he said, if I believe that there is a monster sitting in the corner of this room, then that is real to me. And we were just talking about reality being subjective, which is kind of
Right.
a mind bender, you know?
Well, it is to some extent. I mean, based on because the only thing that really matters about reality, I guess, from our human perspective, is how we respond to it.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And I hate the expression perception is reality, but I mean, if you're going to break it down and talk philosophically about reality, that's 100% true.
Where that starts to not be true
Yes.
is where we're at now, which is when the illusion is shattered. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And then or maybe is in the process of shattering
Hmm.
is the way to put it.
Hmm.
We're kind of like it's cracking. You know what I'm saying?
It's cracking. It's
I
cracking
feel like it's
fast.
shattered, but maybe for some normies out there, your normie boomers, maybe it hasn't. Maybe the cracks are just starting to get into the
Sure.
main street, like the NBC News screen. They're like, "Oh my God, I
Yeah.
see a couple cracks." I think let's pretend like they're not there. I know.
And I wonder, does Jasmine Crockett, does she think
She is
that
no
it's
boomer,
not
I'll tell you that.
right? But does she think it's cracked or is she holding on to the shards, hoping
Well,
that she
they're doing
can,
everything they can to keep their gig rolling. I mean,
yeah.
the Democrats, did you see?
But
Oh
do they
God.
believe it? I'm sorry, when she said
No, I
he
don't think
needs
they
a
believe it.
spine, I mean, if I had been drinking my coffee in that moment, I would have spit
Jasmine
it all over the
Crockett
screen.
might believe it. She
She
doesn't.
believes that Trump doesn't have a spine. He has the strongest spine of
I
any
think
president we've had possibly ever since George Washington.
I don't know. You know, she sounds so unhinged and so crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, I saw those older videos this week, and I thought, God, I think there might be a What happened to that rational person in there? Like, I just don't.
Okay, so maybe she's shattering.
Maybe or acting.
Okay.
You know, I mean,
Or acting.
she's making money. I mean, she's
She
she's
said
working her
Zelensky.
hustle.
Zelensky's acting gig made him a lot of money. I think I'll
It
give this
still
a try.
is. What do you think? What do you think about Ukraine? Oh, hold on. You talked about the
Okay.
speech. I got
Okay,
a little
yes.
mic drop here moment
Okay.
for us. Let's listen.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Go get him, Trump.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm not even
sir.
cutting out the applause. Yeah, I like that.
Fantastic
He's pretty
and
good.
100% true.
His speech was pretty good. Did you watch it or no?
I watched it. I skipped a tiny little bit of it because I was behind and I was kind of jumping. I wanted to be current and live. So I know I missed a couple little blips, but I saw almost all of it. It was excellent.
Nothing too
What'd you think?
major. Oh, I thought it was great. I thought he did a fabulous job. I
Hmm.
mean, I just, I love Trump and I'm not likely to stop loving him. And I mean, there's a few things I'm frustrated with still in this. Nothing's ever perfect. You always find
Right.
things to bitch about in
Hmm.
life, and so
It's
there's a
life.
million great things going on
It's
with Trump,
life in
and
a fallen world.
there's
Yes,
still
we
got a
could
few
bitch.
things to bitch about.
Hmm.
But like these Epstein files. I mean,
Yeah,
come
what's up
on,
with that?
come on. Like
Said there's
we
nothing
have
in
two
there.
people that we convicted of sex trafficking
Uh-huh.
for multiple life sentences that
Yep.
had these islands in these high profile cases, and we can't get one answer to who these bitches trafficked to.
Right.
I just how about one
Just
person?
just
Just one
nobody's.
person. Like
Nobody's. They would love to just say it was Trump, It was
it
just Trump.
just
Trump
happened.
funded the whole thing.
What do you mean it just happened? There was nobody like buying them. There was nobody like
I
and
know.
this
So
is
where'd they go? You think the
I don't
files were
need a truckload of
destroyed?
files, Pam Bondi. All I need is a list of names of who they traffic to. That's all. And you
Yeah.
know what? You already know it, or somebody already knows it, or else these people wouldn't be in jail. This is a real easy question.
Yeah.
And no,
And
well,
so
there's things we can't tell you because of national security. Oh, there's sex traffickers that are protected because of national security. That makes a lot of sense, Pam Bondi. I think Pam
that's
Bondi is going to be
unsettling.
an utter and complete disappointment in the DOJ.
You
I
think
I
so?
am afraid we're going to find the DOJ and the FBI both beyond correction, which is what I've been saying the whole time. They will
Okay, you think so?
defy being changed and being cleaned up. They should just be
Okay.
shut down, their buildings burned, the earth raised and salted. I'm
The
telling
earth
you.
salted.
Start some new national police force if you want, but rein them in better. But you ain't gonna
Yikes.
fix the FBI and you ain't gonna fix the DOJ. That's what
So
I'm
I
worried that
wonder,
that 4 years from now we're gonna say that the constant point of frustration was
they couldn't do
was
it.
courts and the DOJ. And
Whew.
neither one, Congress is not going to do anything about the courts and radical judges. They're not going to impeach a single judge, and it
You don't
doesn't
think so?
matter what that judge does. No. When's the last
Mm.
impeachment of a judge you remember, or even remember from history?
Yeah, no, but I just am hoping that's going to be
Oh,
different moving forward. You're like, "Ah,
we're. I'm
sorry, I'll just be
afraid
eating my steak over here."
you're. There's just this Epstein thing is ridiculous, and that
Yeah.
it became a big kind of hullabaloo this week because I can't remember the guy's name, but he went on Joe Rogan, Ian something, I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't listen to the episode. I saw a couple clips. I haven't. I just been a busy week, so I haven't
Hmm.
caught as much. And he talked about him and Rogan were both going back and forth about how we're never going to know anything about the Epstein files because everything about Epstein and Epstein's Island was run by Israeli intelligence, and they
Oh,
used it
what?
to collect information and to continually enrich Israel at American taxpayers' expense. Now,
Damn.
that means they're anti Semites. And we heard that all across the verdant plains this week in social media. And it was like that we had the Christian pastors coming out being like, you need to avoid this anti Semitic, this is a slippery slope. And so my question, I reply to these people and they never reply back. And
Hmm.
I say, okay, all right, let's say what you say is true. That the approved narrative about Israel and the state of Israel and Jews and the whole thing, that's all exactly what happened. That's okay. Well, in my
Okay.
world, truth can stand exposure. In my world, truth isn't afraid of a few questions. This sounds a lot more like COVID to me when people are like, whatever you do, don't pay any attention to that. Don't ask those questions. Well, ask the
Yeah.
questions. If they're wrong, okay. That's isn't that what freedom of speech is? Isn't that how we arrive at kind of the consensus of what
Hmm.
we believe history is by
Right. I mean,
exposure.
right. We need to be able to ask questions and have those conversations.
The truth can stand any light. It's lies that can't. So
Yep.
if the truth is what we've been told about the last 100 years of history, and I'm fine if it is, I hope it is. Well, I don't know if I hope it is. Maybe I don't hope 6 million Jews died and were killed and gassed. But if it was, it was. I hope we haven't been lied to, and that's
Hmm.
fine. Well, open it up to the light of day. Why would there be such a thing as, in Germany, laws against Holocaust denial? That doesn't make any sense to me. If it's true, what are we worried about?
Um, I don't know. I think to them it's hate speech because it's an emotional issue. So it's kind of like, I mean, like we don't like the KKK. Like we don't like Nazis or the KKK here in America, but we are, I think are more advanced in the freedom of speech area than Germany, for example. So I just think it's so emotional for them. They're also much smaller. It's just I think our sheer
We
size
also,
kind
the
of.
Allies, spent 10 years raping and pillaging Germany. We killed about 10 million Germans. So they're probably a little gun shy at this point. I think we taught
Got
them their
it.
lesson.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
unbelievable what we did. And it wasn't just us. The Russians were real bad too. The Russians were
Oof.
real bad. I
In
mean, they went
Germany.
into these German towns and I'm talking 5 to 10 years.
Is this at right after the war?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awful.
And they just
We don't learn
raped
about
and murdered
that.
anybody they wanted.
How come we don't learn about that?
We only talk about the sanitized fake histories of war that we want. Everything,
Hmm.
look at all, why would World War II be any different than all of the wars that we've experienced in our lifetime, which is all they are is propaganda and money laundering things and ways to kill normal people. And it doesn't matter which side they're on.
Damn.
Normal people have to be killed, right?
I
They're
guess. Todd, this like took a very heavy,
sorry.
serious turn from our Jasmine Crockett like TikTok,
It's been bugging me
account.
all week. It's really
Yeah,
because
that's wild.
because if you didn't,
Why would it
because
be
I'm
no
on X and all
different?
this,
Yeah.
I've seen this pop up. And so it's popping up where you've got some main figures, Candace Owens, some people that are
Hmm.
that are making some claims that Israel is not all that we've always thought that they were. Oh,
Right.
in fact, I saw this week, and this is just
Well, I was
like,
going to say,
go ahead.
definitely. I was just going to say, I can see that they, I'm sure, have gone through their own evolution. And the state of global politics right now, I think is pretty shameful. I think there's a lot of corruption worldwide. So if we find that Israel is corrupt right now, I don't think that means it always has been.
Hmm.
Just I'm
Maybe.
just saying.
I suspect
I
they
don't
have.
think I don't
They
think you
haven't
can
been
ex
around very long. They've only been around since 1948. So I mean, it's,
what
it's
I'm saying.
they don't
Never
have
mind.
as
Okay.
long of a history to have been corrupt for the whole time. Now,
Mm.
if they were corrupt since their founding, that would happen to
Mm-hmm.
correspond with the exact time frame in which our government's been the most corrupt. And they happen to be a
Okay.
country that without our government wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Those threads
Not
tied together
today,
make
that's
me
for sure.
think, no, I mean, they
That's for
wouldn't
sure.
exist. Without America and America pushing the UN, there would be no country of Israel.
Wow. Well,
So maybe it's fine. Maybe it's good. See, my whole point is I don't have a horse in this race,
okay.
except that I'd like to know the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime people start telling me that I'm not allowed to ask questions, I think, I don't know about that. It reminds me of COVID. That's what it reminds me of.
Your COVID
Like,
spidey senses
if
kick in.
COVID if they were so right about everything, why would they have to censor?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they,
Right. Why would they censor doctors talking about it? And
here's one for you. This is a headline, March 4th, this last week. The
okay.
Jerusalem Post, Israel News.
Okay.
Netanyahu's funding for Hamas via Qatar enabled October 7th invasion, Shin Bet reveals. I would like to know if there's somebody out there who right after October 7th wrote about
Yeah.
something like
I
this.
was going to say, I feel like I recall Todd Allen on Todd's World talking about the shadiness of that attack.
Oh my gosh. Right from the beginning.
Yikes, Todd. What are they basing that on? What do they see?
I don't really
What?
know. I didn't get into the whole story, but it's actually a relatively old story. It just kind of got recycled. Um,
Wow. Well, I was going to
but
say they're
I didn't
revisiting
dig,
it.
yeah, I didn't dig into all the
Mm,
stuff. I never doubted it. There was no way that Hamas terrorists in Toyota pickups were going to breach the $1 billion wall. I just, all
yeah.
people have to do is just look at the news and pretend like
Mm-hmm.
that was a movie and think to yourself, does that plot make sense? And if it doesn't, then it's
Mm-hmm.
probably a different plot. Like
Yeah.
and they do it in movies. You got misdirection, the whole thing, right? And it's all
Yep.
fine. It's all whatever. If it's governments, I don't know if it's so fine, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's a little
We're
concerning.
just lied to about everything all the time. And I understand that's upsetting to people.
Yeah.
See, you know what's different is it's not
It's
very
so
upsetting.
uncomfortable for me. Yeah.
It's not upsetting to me. And it's not even uncomfortable to me. I just accept, like, I thought that was reality as long as I can remember. I
Mm-hmm.
thought they were lying to us.
Yep.
Now, has it surprised me how blatantly sometimes? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
COVID surprised me. Although COVID more surprised me not on the government end, it more surprised me on the people's end. I
Mm.
just did not think that by and large we were a nation of swallowers. Like we
Well,
proved to be. We just, whatever they gave us,
woo!
we swallowed.
You know what? I know why that was though, because this was brand new territory. Pandemic, global pandemic,
Mhm.
and people were afraid.
Well,
It's the first
people
time,
honestly thought, well, surely, don't call me Shirley. Surely the government wouldn't lie to us about this.
right.
Oh, okay. And that's why
Surely they're telling us the truth that there are piles of bodies in Europe,
right.
which is what we were told.
And it follows on a bunch of other Shirleys. Surely the government wouldn't lie to us about the assassination of our own president, JFK. Surely
Right.
the government wouldn't lie to us about Vietnam, a war.
Right.
Surely the government wouldn't lie to us about 9/11. I mean, surely the government
Surely
wouldn't
not.
kill its own citizens. There's so many that you're
Hmm.
like, once, and that's why people hold on to it. That's why people are still holding
Yep.
on to it, even though the cracks are starting to come into their big
Yes.
screens with their mainstream media on there at the edges. They're
Hmm.
still holding on because
Of
you're
course.
right, it's more comfortable. And
It's way more comfortable.
and they look that way and they think, well, if that one falls, what about all the other Shirleys?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
How
a house of
how
cards for
sure
sure.
are all those Shirleys? I don't,
Yeah.
and that freaks people out. That and it, whatever. But
Understandably.
yeah, people,
I'm in that
it's very
camp.
unsettling for
It
people.
is. I'm in that camp. I don't trust everything that we're told. I don't believe anything the mainstream media tells us. Like
Right?
zero. Except maybe the traffic report and the weather in the morning. But
They
yeah,
do their
that's
best
about
on
it.
the weather.
They don't really know. You
No,
know
but
what I'm
they
gonna
do their
say?
best. A lot
They're
of
not
times they're
lying,
kind of
but they don't know.
close.
I love how they give you a 10-day forecast. Like, they don't know. They don't know
People
what's
always
happening.
bitch about the weather forecasters, and I think, they seem like they're kind of close a lot of the time.
I mean, it's winter. What do we expect?
I mean, they miss in Michigan sometimes on snowstorms and things, and
Yeah,
lake effect by us is hard to know exactly what's going to
hard
happen. And
to predict. But I don't believe anything they say, but I really like to just, I like to not to dissect it too,
yeah,
not to dig too deeply.
well, there's a little bit in which I'm that way because I'm telling you what I'm telling you right now about
Hmm.
this, all of these questions about like the Israeli intelligence and the state of Israel, all in the Holocaust, all these different things.
Hmm.
I barely dig on them. And the reason I barely dig on them is because I don't have to scratch the surface hardly at all. And I don't really like what I am seeing. And I don't want to be out there promoting all these things that I'm seeing. And
Right.
so I just quit digging. You know
You
what
quit
I
there
mean?
because you like to share truth and truth discovery of
Yeah.
truth, and you don't want to have to be the one
So I'm just going to hang it on
forging
Israel's
that
corrupt and
path.
been corrupt from the beginning. And
Okay.
I don't know what all that means.
Right.
Just like I think America's been corrupt for tens of years, hundreds, maybe 100 years. I don't know, but I
Hmm.
don't know the depths of it all. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and
Well,
but not that I think we shouldn't, but
and I want to caution you, and I tread so lightly on the Jewish people, and I f- I am
you've been
I'm
taught
sen
well.
well, I'm sensitive to, well, I was going to say I know Jewish people and I know how they feel about these issues. And so I just want to caution you that there's so much like personal and emotional connection to their history, and they are sensitive to anti-Semitism.
Hmm.
And I think it should be offensive regardless of the level of corruption in Israel, in their government. I think it's appalling that we have people calling Hamas supporters calling for the death of Jews on college campuses right now.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
think that's horrible.
Okay,
So,
tell me this. How do you feel about the Gaza thing?
so what do you mean? Like,
I mean,
you're
the
asking me.
wholesale destruction and demolition of an entire city of 2 million people razed to the ground in the name of Jewish security, Israel security. It's not Jewish because not all Jews
I was
live
gonna
in
say
Israel.
you're talking about Israel. Um,
State of Israel.
you're talking about them like bombing
Mm. Killing,
Gaza.
yeah, raping,
Well,
pillaging, all the things to get their
I
hostages
think,
back that Netanyahu helped them, paid them to get
oh
originally.
gosh.
Just for context.
So thanks for asking me such an easy question, Todd. I feel like we should be drinking in this show today instead of with beers with Jesus later. Um,
Candace Owens was
how
on
do
Theo
I
Vaughn this
feel
week,
about that? Oh,
and
how
they,
was
they
it?
talked about that. That's why I was kind of. So it's gotten mainstream, is my point, and I'm curious what you think about it.
Well, here's what I think. I think that on one hand, I'm going to give you absolutely no answer. But on one hand, Hamas
I really
is
like my
hi
Jewish friends.
Hamas is hiding among the people, the innocent people.
Right. Truth. I
So
believe
I
that.
feel,
Truth.
yeah, truth. So I feel like Hamas is really screwing over the innocent people.
Mhm.
Now, Israel, they could choose not to attack them to protect the innocent people, but they're like, hey, we got to go after these people. So it's Hamas's fault. They're pointing the finger and saying it's Hamas's fault that innocents are being killed, civilians are being killed because Hamas isn't,
Mhm.
they're not centrally located, or they're not, you know what I mean? They don't have a headquarters. They're just among
Hmm.
the people. So I don't know.
I wonder where
If
they get all
I
their money from. I mean, who knows?
Well, I think that Doge found that we have a fund.
Let me ask you a question. If
Okay.
you just looked at the overall picture of what happened since whatever
Since
year that
October
October
7th?
7th, it wasn't last year, was it?
No, it's 2 years.
Yeah. Um, when you look at what's happened since then to
Hmm.
now, and you think, okay, who do you feel like benefited the most out of all this? I mean, if there was a scoreboard,
Yeah. Um,
do you
I
think that
think
Gaza, do you think the Palestinians came out benefiting the most? Or do you
so.
think Israel did?
I think I think that Israel's presence in the world and the sympathy for Israel, if you can measure like who benefit, if you can
Hmm.
measure sympathy, the sympathy is with among people who can actually make a difference, like our government.
Hmm.
Then Israel, I think, benefits in
Yeah.
terms of sympathy and support. Palestinians benefited from the Soros funded unrest, the protesters, like there's all this sympathy, but those people don't make a difference in actual consequential
They're also not
events,
over there.
decisions. Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Oh yeah, they're just here. It's just unrest. I mean, they have a
That to
lot of
me just
what
seems
I'm
like
what I'm saying is
the
they have a
left
ton of
taking
sympathy,
advantage
but
of
it's
whatever.
inconsequential sympathy.
Yeah.
Whereas sympathy for Israel comes from a higher place and means funding
Hmm.
and support against, against
Hmm.
the forces that might be working against them. So is that kind of where you're leading me with that
Yeah. Well,
question?
I just wondered what you think about it because
That would
it's kind of
that's my perception.
it's kind of controversial. My feeling on it is that most of your relatively average people who aren't like in the news, who aren't doing whatever, not
Hmm.
making it their life, that
Hmm.
they are just like, well, Israel's our ally, we're pro-Israel, and then they don't think about it much because it's kind
Yeah.
of unsettling to think about Israel just killing, I don't know, 60,000
Right.
people just because
Right.
somebody took some hostages. Oh, well, they actually paid somebody to take some hostages. It's amazing. That kind
Yeah,
of puts things in a different light, but
it
um,
does. Mm.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem. Listen, Israel's over there. They have a right to exist, and they can do, I guess, what they want. I
But
I
do you want our name stamped on it, our flag
I don't
stamped
want
on
my
any of
name
that? I
stamped on
don't.
just indiscriminate razing of an entire city.
Right.
I don't.
Mm-mm.
To
Yeah, I
me,
wish I wish we were just not involved in any of that. I'd like
yeah.
us to pull out our involvement, financial and otherwise, out of all of those conflicts. Now, according to Jasmine, we're fighting with, I didn't know that. We're fighting with Canada. We're fighting
Hmm.
with Greenland and
Would you
Mexico.
see about the tariffs this week?
Tell me about the tariffs.
You didn't see them.
Nah.
They
I see
um
people bitching about it, but I don't know enough about it.
well, Trump's tariffs went into effect on both Canada and Mexico and
Okay.
China this week. So
Okay.
Canada and Mexico were 25% each, and then
Okay.
Mexico is 10%. No, Canada and Mexico are 25%, and
Okay.
China is 10%.
Okay.
And
Didn't China's go into effect like 3 weeks ago? A few weeks
no,
ago?
he paused them, and then I think he
Oh.
paused them till March 2nd. Anyway, sometime last week, beginning of last week.
Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry. The
And
reason
then
I
he
ask,
he
yeah,
also
oh, never mind.
bumped the something to do with the Canada car stuff until
Okay.
April 2nd, and somebody told me that was because he the NAT it's not called NAFTA, it's called North America. I can't remember.
Oh,
NAMCA. I don't know what it's called. Some free trade agreement, and that's
yep.
when it ran out. That was when it was due to
Okay.
expire and be renewed. And
Mm-hmm.
so he just felt like, well, we'll honor it till beginning of April. But what that means is then that so anything that comes in from Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and like in Michigan, we get I don't know if we get a lot, but we get some of our lumber from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're getting a bunk of two by fours,
Oh
and
boy.
those two by fours are $5, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, $5 each. I mean, and they aren't. They're way less than that. $5 is like the retail cost, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying. Or let's say they're a dollar. Let's say it's a
Okay.
dollar a piece for a two by four, and
Okay.
they ship it across. Well, now it's $1.25, right?
Okay. Yep.
I mean, that's just what it is, and the government is taking that 25 cents. The United States government. So
Okay.
we've been taught our whole lives. You were probably taught at Hillsdale. I was ingrained into me my whole life that
I didn't take economics there,
we're
but
free trade conservative Republicans. Like it was Milton Friedman. It's a big thing. It's
yes.
real
Hmm.
important. And Trump is not. Trump's a big believer in tariffs.
Okay.
And so you have not only you have the Democrats, which don't matter at all. I
Hmm.
mean, honest to God, we thought there was another party, and they're proving not to be. Did you see some of the numbers that came out on Trump's after Trump's speech? He got like
No,
69% that agree with him and agreed with
really?
his speech, and like
Nice.
20. The Democrats have like 21% support.
Fantastic. I love
Trump's going
that.
to fix elections. I think part of what we're seeing is a
Hmm.
is a reset so that the media can move a little closer to reality so that once we have a real election, it's not like,
I hope
do you know what I
so.
mean? It's not quite so stark like, oh my God, they made up
Yeah.
20% of their vote.
Like,
Like,
yeah,
those
at
people never
least.
even existed.
So, okay, Todd, real quick. So NAFTA, okay, is the North American Free Trade Agreement. That's United States, Canada, Mexico, and but there's also the USMCA. Is that the one that you're thinking of? It's the
Yes, the
well,
USMCA.
it
That's
was
what it.
replaced. Yeah, it was replaced by that in 2020. It's the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement. Is that the
Okay.
one that we're talking about here?
Yes.
Okay. So
And that
now
I
he's got,
somebody told me that expired. I maybe it's on like an annual renewal kind of basis or something,
okay.
and
Hmm.
so that it was up for its renewal on April 2nd, and so Trump just decided, well,
Okay.
that way we're not breaking an agreement, we're just not
Okay.
renewing one. So,
Okay.
but
Got
that
it.
also means let's think about cars. That becomes a little bigger of
Okay.
a deal. So
All right.
a car costs 50 grand coming from Canada, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and now it costs 62,500, and the government takes 12,500 of that. So
Okay.
now
So, okay,
Trump's whole point is
so
make them
close
here.
this. Yes, make them here. But in the meantime, let's close that loop. 62,500. The government takes 12,500. Okay.
Yes,
So the consumer is, punched in the stomach with the higher price of the car.
right.
What does the government do with that tariff money that benefits the consumer of the car? Are
Um,
taxes lowered?
well, the hope would be
Are
that they would be down the road. Yeah, I think the
okay.
hope would be Trump's hope would be that he doesn't necessarily want the tariffs. He wants the jobs in the manufacturing here.
Okay, he's using the tariffs as leverage
Right.
to move production
But he
here.
has talked about, and this has been talked about quite a bit. I mean, when
Yeah.
I first heard it, I kind of thought that sounds a little. I can't believe anybody is really going to do that. But there has
Are
been
you going to say it out loud?
somewhat serious talk
Are you going
about
to say it out loud?
getting rid of the income tax in favor of a tariff-based system. Well, a system primarily funded by tariffs, and I've also heard it said with some kind of a national consumption tax, which would be fine. I
Yeah,
think that's still better than an income tax.
it is. I think so.
If they pulled the income tax off, our economy would skyrocket.
Skyrocket.
I think there's some underlying. We're starting also to see in the economy that things were a lot worse than the Biden had, or
Yeah.
not Biden, whoever was parading the corpse of Biden around was was cooking the
Let's
books a
just call
lot
it.
more than anybody. Well, I don't know if
Okay.
that anybody realized than the general public realized. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
and so what tends to shift things is that general public kind of sentiment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Consumer spending and all those kinds of things, those
Yeah.
economic measures, and it's starting to filter through that all of this was a house of cards,
Yeah.
and and you're starting to see Treasury. You're starting to see some people come out and even Trump say there's going to be a time. I think we're in for a recession. Is my guess. I think housing
Yeah. I've seen
is I
some
think the housing
indicators of that,
prices
which
are
worries me. How do you feel
housing
about that?
prices are kind of a bubble. Well, I don't ever want any I don't like economic recessions ever, but I mean that
Right.
remember that happened to Reagan in he gets elected in 80, he gets in, and it took him we went through about 2 years of recession before he was able to kind of pull out of inflation in the economy by 82, he lost the midterms, or the Republicans lost the midterms in 82.
Okay.
But by the time they got past that midterm, all of the things that Reagan had done with tax cuts in his economic package, it started to take off and pull out. And then that's where you got the 80s and the 90s from.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But there
Yeah.
was a period where there was some correction that he was fighting on. And
Hmm.
I took so many, I almost minored in economics, but I think I missed one class and I didn't care. But we did so many of those models in so many of my
Okay.
economics classes where you're dealing with computer models, and so you can adjust these different economic factors and you can watch the curves change over time,
Mm.
and you can
That's
watch,
super cool.
yeah, and so you can watch how this is the right thing to do, but it starts bad, and then it starts, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to pull out.
Yeah, that worries me because here's why it worries me because Trump has these great ideas. We
Mhm.
all believe in his vision, but if it doesn't have some immediate gratification, then the media is just going to continue to spin
Well, they will.
the negativity and the hatred.
I'm hoping I'm hoping that Trump will pull it, that Trump's stuff will pull it faster, because
Well,
Trump
with
via
Doge
executive
maybe.
order, Doge is helping, and then the other thing Trump's doing is he just took a bunch of regulations off the timber industry to try to offset
Okay.
that Canadian
Mm-hmm.
tariff thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally think that we could probably ramp up. I think a lot of these sawmills and things could add shifts. They could ramp up production, I think, relatively easily if they, to fill the gap.
Okay.
And um, maybe they could, pull some plants out of mothballs or whatever. And so I'm not as worried about that. I think that the other thing, interest rates are tough.
Yeah.
Interest rates are tough because the debt the Treasury Secretary. I don't think I have that, but he came out and talked about how um, we have to transition. Our economy right now is about 50% public spending, government
Okay.
spending. And that's just 40 to 50, maybe he said. And it's just entirely too much. And it's waste and it's abuse and it pumps interest rates high and it does all these things. And we need to shift it to where it's more like 20 to 30%. And we've got to shift that over to consumer spending on the other side. Well, that's all. I think he's absolutely right on that. But he did say that in that shift, there's going to be some pain. And
Yeah.
so I just don't think there's any way around it.
Well,
Reagan
I
dealt
just
with the
hope it's
same
not
thing.
recession level pain.
Oh, the other thing that Trump's doing, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Reagan did this, but Trump via executive order is really pumping. He's going to start pumping oil like we've never seen. He's going to do everything he can to just drop the price of energy, because
Yep.
when that oil price drops, if oil goes down to or if gas goes down to $1.89 a gallon,
Yep.
that is just massive when it comes to the
Yeah.
economy and to growth and to just it's a tax cut.
Absolutely.
It amounts to like a tax cut across the board for people.
It
You know what
does.
I mean?
I mean, it impacts shipping costs. It impacts
It's just everywhere.
travel, everything. You know, over the years, we've just seen hikes in services, even like in our pest control. So I live in Florida.
Hmm.
We have quarterly pest control. I mean, you're
Like
braver than
everybody
I am.
does. You gotta.
Yeah, everybody. And you have to have like a termite bond,
That's
otherwise
what
you
you
could
get.
lose
You
your
either get
house.
winter or you get pest
Or you
control.
get critters, creepy crawly critters. So yeah, we have pest control and they would raise their prices by like a couple dollars because of fuel costs.
Yeah.
Because all their work vehicles are driving all around
Right.
town. And I've seen that for a long time, just creeping up. And I think, man, even things like that are impacted by
What
gas
annoys me
prices.
in
They'll
all
never
you
lower it, of course,
What
but
annoys me as a builder, this has annoyed me forever, is
okay.
that they always claim like siding, all these things, siding,
Hmm.
asphalt shingles, all these different
Hmm.
things have oil in them as one of their primary things. And so as
Oh,
oil went up,
that doesn't sound healthy.
they kept pumping all these, well, plastics. I mean,
I
vinyl
know.
siding and
Yeah.
it's just petroleum and so much. And so they would raise their prices. Well, then like when Trump came in and prices went down to $2 a gallon, nobody gave any of that money back. You know what I mean? They're not
Right.
lowering the price of a bundle of shingles all of a sudden.
I know they're not. And I was going to say, and what's happens in the housing market? They're not going to lower the price. I mean, Are
Well, the
they?
housing market's different because,
Housing
well, meaning the
prices will
price.
lower, will
Um,
decrease.
I don't know. Dave Ramsey,
Hmm.
hell of a lot smarter guy than me, at least when it comes to finances. Let's not get too cocky, Dave. But certainly when it comes to finances, um, he doesn't think that there's a long that he. In other words, you could have a short term thing like '08 to 10 where prices, housing values actually come down. Like I was talking to somebody
Okay.
the other day about how that was a paradigm shift. I remember that. We had
Hmm.
gone our whole life. You probably remember it. And the underlying assumption was always all housing prices values, I should say, all housing values will ever do is go up.
Hmm.
Sometimes they'll go up slow, sometimes they might go up a little faster, but housing will always appreciate. That was our paradigm prior to 2010. And then everything shattered all at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
all of a sudden we saw prices come down. But
So that'd be
Ramsey
good.
would make the argument that once you saw them come back up, that on a longer term graph, that there's still solid housing appreciation and that you're going to see that. And part of
Okay.
his, I think part of his reason would be that the population isn't going down.
Right.
The population's only increasing. We already have a shortage of housing for them. Where I think you could see something is with all these deportations, I think you could see, and I hope we do see rent prices come down because
Oh,
rent
I
has
know.
skyrocketed,
It's
and I think
crazy.
a lot of that has been subsidized by the federal government and all the money they're giving these illegal aliens and all the people they're bringing in. They're bringing in millions, and I
Yeah.
think as we get that out of the system,
Hmm.
because you had multifamily guys that were building to that wave. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'm not saying they weren't taking positions on whether it's right or wrong, but they saw a market opportunity there, right? And so they're building more apartments and they're building more things like that. And so now that we're pushing all these people out, and now that we're killing all that subsidies, all the government financing to them all, I
Hmm.
I expect that we'll see rent prices drop because those are a little bit more elastic. I feel like because that's
Right.
going to really reduce the demand, and the supply is already up, so you're going to see prices come down in the rental market. That's going to help your average, ordinary, everyday Americans too.
Right.
If that,
Be
and
able
I
to.
think that will happen. Now, part of that is that you've got the recessionary pressures that come with, you know what I'm saying? Like they kind of
Yes.
travel together, but there could be some good things that come out of it. So, all right, let's take a
Yeah.
quick break and come back.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
We're back, Carrie.
We're back.
Crisis averted.
Sometimes we need a break.
So, I wanted to
Yeah.
add one more thing
Hmm.
to the tariff. I don't want to
Yeah.
leave without this.
Hmm.
That Trump's point is, and he makes an awfully good point that the countries that he's putting these tariffs on, they
Yeah.
have massively higher tariffs on our goods already. And his whole point
Do
is,
they really?
you know what? If you take your tariffs off, we'll take our tariffs off.
Hmm.
And instead, Canada's ramping up because Canada's like that, like little, not even a little brother. They're like a little third Downsy cousin. And, and they're like, we're gonna be fine. And mind
Yeah,
you,
that's
you have to
fine.
understand that 30, 35, 40% of Canada's economy and GDP relies on American exports. Amer 1.2% of America's economy and GDP relies on Canadian exports. So it's
There you
just
go.
not, well, it's like Trump saying to Zelensky, you don't have the cards. And
Yeah.
Zelensky's like, I'm not playing cards. What?
I'm playing line my pockets. Todd, I was going to say what's been circulating lately online is like an old recording of Trump, like from the 80s,
Okay.
talking about how the US is like not getting what they should out of their, import export relationships from
Yeah,
other
this has been a
countries around the
long,
world. It has been he has seen this for his entire adult life. And
yeah.
he's been talking about it. And I love that he's in position now to do something about it. He's just so consistent.
It's a different, see,
No
there
one
is a
will ever
big,
call him a flip-flopper.
I think the difference is that a lot of what we were taught about free trade in theory is right. But
Hmm.
what was left out of that was any idea of fair trade that can kind of bring some context to free. So what we were doing is just we won't charge anybody anything, and everybody can charge us whatever they want because we're the biggest superpower and we can afford it and we can and it just
Right. It's like
that's
being
not
taken
free trade.
advantage of because we're well
Right.
off.
So then we bleed manufacturing. So then all of our
Mhm.
pharmaceutical, or not all of our pharmaceutical drugs, but the vast majority of our pharmaceutical drugs are made in China. All of our semiconductor chips are made in Taiwan. Why is
Un
this?
Unacceptable
It's
on both
because
counts.
we just opened up and I think it was the Treasury Secretary came out and said that um, a robust American economy or whatever is not measured by cheap goods. Now, there was a hue and cry about that too, but yes, it is. Mike Pence came out, the famous Mike Pence, with the
Uh-huh.
fly still attached firmly to his hairsprayed hair, and said, that's not true. He went into the standard Republican talking points of like the 1990s.
Oh my gosh.
But
Okay. Cheap goods.
I think it kind of is true because it's true that while it's true that a lowering of prices does help people in some to some extent,
Right.
if at the same time their wages and lifestyle in other ways are lowered even lower, then it's not a good deal. Like if you could make 25% more and if prices were 15% higher, well, you're net off better that way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And then there's also things like steel production, all these things that, well,
Mm-hmm.
what happens if we go to war with China and our pharmaceuticals are cut off?
Right.
Half of Americans are going to die.
Yeah. And our president would be blamed, you know.
What about all these women that are trapped in men's bodies trying to transition? What if their pharmaceuticals are cut off, along with other things that have been cut off already on them? It's
Are there bits and
sad.
pieces sent to China?
Here,
Sorry, that was sick. That was sick.
I liked it.
Apologize.
What
I've
about
been in Todd's world too long this morning.
what about Candace Owens?
Okay, so
You like Candace?
I like Candace. I think that Candace is intelligent. Man,
Mhm.
she sees things for, the way they are.
Yeah, she
But,
does.
but,
But
but her
she's black.
delivery,
Oh, that wasn't what you were going to say. I'm just kidding.
she's just a DEI hire. No, I really feel like Candace's delivery needs a lot of work. I'm going to use
Oh,
real quick, an aside. Love and respect the brain power of Charlie Kirk
Charlie Kirk.
and Ben Shapiro.
Hmm.
Charlie Kirk wins over more people. He is more persuasive because of his delivery. Candace is a lot like Ben Shapiro. I know more than you. I'm going to talk until I beat you into the ground, and maybe someday you'll see things clearly, is kind of her approach. I love
That's how
her.
you feel that her and
Oh,
Shapiro's
yeah,
approach is.
totally. She's not winning anybody over, but she's really smart.
You don't think so, eh? Okay.
No,
I'm not.
absolutely not.
I am not. I like Candace Owens.
Hmm.
She's
Yeah, I
not
like her too.
somebody that I listen to regularly, and there's not any particular reason for that other than I don't have time to listen to all that many people regularly. But here's
She's
Candace Owens
black.
talking to Stephen A. Smith. No, I thought she's gorgeous
Yeah, I think Candace
and
Owens is beautiful.
intelligent, and I think she kind of got railroaded a little bit by the Daily Wire. Although I
Hmm.
don't know,
Yeah, I
but
don't really
but
know the story at all.
they keep those splits are sometimes hard to you can only kind of infer things, and so who knows really. But here she is. You know who Stephen A. Smith is? The
I
black.
don't.
He's a black guy who has a bunch of big. He has sports programs,
Okay.
and
Oh, keep
he's
going. Keep going.
mostly does a lot of sports talk, and but he's kind of been edging into some more political stuff and whatever. This I think is his podcast, and he has Candace Owens on it. I
Did
think
he interview Kamala Harris right towards the end of the campaign?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Honestly, I don't. He would consider himself a Democrat
Okay.
because he's even made some like comments about, well, he could run for president as a Democrat next time.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and I mean maybe he
His
could.
name's Stephen Smith.
It's Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith. Okay.
Yeah, you'll recognize him as soon as you see him.
Yeah, I'm gonna look him up here.
So this is
Oh,
him.
yes, I know him.
Yeah, you know him. But
I
mostly, you
know
know how
him.
I mean he kind of comes from the sports world.
Yes. Okay. Not who I was thinking of, but got
Okay.
it.
He comes from the sports world. So I don't know his whole background. I just know that he does a lot of sports talk and whatever. So here he is talking to Candace. We probably won't listen to this whole thing, but
Hmm.
we'll listen to a little bit of it on the front end. Talking about the little elf dictator from Ukraine, Mr. President Zelensky.
The actor.
Back to Trump in this regard, we just saw it. The world just saw. It wasn't a press conference or anything like that. I don't call it that. Him with Ukrainian President Zelensky and how he went at him and what have you. Now Zelensky, if I remember correctly, you didn't speak too highly of him. I want to make sure I'm quoting you accurately. You called him a homosexual actor. Is that true? Did you call him that?
I also just called him the neighborhood crackhead, kind of just goes around asking for money. I've called him a welfare queen, ghetto. And this is the thing. The media kind of had me depicted throughout BLM as this person that uses these words to describe Black people. I'm like, no. Let's be very clear. When I'm calling somebody like Zelensky a welfare queen, there's a reason for that. You come here with your hand out, asking, making demands. It's funny because I was having a discussion with my husband about this. And, it's people that tend to need the most that make these sorts of demands, and they're so arrogant. He's taken billions away, unaccounted billions, by the way. So you and I have to get to work because Zelensky wants his borders protected, and we can't have our borders protected because that would be a racist thing to ask for. But he's allowed to demand that you and I get to work because he's spent all the billions. His wife is shopping in Paris. The oligarchs in Ukraine are all buying yachts. And yeah, I have absolutely no respect for him, but I want to say I have not respected that man since day one. This is not something that's new. I just saw him coming.
It's not.
It's pretty good.
Oh yeah, she calls it like it is, which is great.
Of how much
Whoops,
he has
sorry,
taken.
I didn't mean to turn that on.
That's funny.
Yeah,
What was his
I agree
reaction
with
to
her
that?
completely.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can get back. He was just like towards the end of the clip. What's funny is that she kind of turns him a little. That's what I want to find.
Yeah.
Is
Oh, okay,
is
good.
that she bombs him with a bunch of facts. Okay,
Mhm.
let's give it
Lie
here.
on politicians. I think all politicians lie.
Yeah.
And so I was reading the transcripts leading up to this moment of Putin's speeches and Biden's speeches and trying to discern what the truth was. And Putin was saying, you guys gave us assurances that NATO was not going to expand 1 inch eastward into our territory. Essentially, NATO is a military.
Right.
We were putting a military on his border, despite in 1989, when the Berlin Wall came down, as a condition, an agreement for them to agree to take down the Berlin Wall. We promised, and you can go look at this in NSA
This is
declassified
100%
documents. James Baker was the Secretary of State at that time.
Yes, he was.
We promised them that we would never move NATO eastward. So you have to imagine the memory that they have, and they're going, why are you now doing that? Now all of a sudden we're saying that Ukraine is going to join NATO, and he's saying this is unacceptable. America can't keep changing its mind. And so when I was able to validate what he said and to read the speeches, you cannot walk away from that without an understanding that we are the aggressors. Everything that we say Russia is doing, recreating the Soviet Union, we are doing that. What is the European Union? What is NATO?
Wow.
And we've been getting away for it for too long under this guise of quote unquote spreading democracy. So I fundamentally disagreed with what I saw as Western propaganda trying to paint Putin as a monster for holding us to our promises and not telling the public that. He just randomly woke up one day and just said, I want to do hood rat stuff with my friends. And he went into Ukraine. That's a fairy tale. That's not what happened. And
It's because
beyond
of us.
that, like you saw when he sat down with Tucker Carlson, he asked to join NATO himself. Why are we not having a productive relationship with Russia? I call that Cold War hangover. People that grew up under their desks, afraid of a nuclear bomb, can never see Russia outside of being villainous. And quite frankly, I think Zelensky He's suspended elections. He's locked down churches. He's locked up nuns. I'm a Christian. I don't like this guy at all.
Me and Candace are on the same page.
I am so glad you shared that. That is loaded with truth.
I saw the little elf coming too. I've never bought into the little elf.
So, I bought into it early on, but as soon as I saw his history, I was like, oh, this guy's like full of crap. I mean, just his resume, kind of like when you said, how can people not look at the net worth of our Congress, our representatives, and not question what's happening. It's the same to me. How can you look at Zelensky's
Right.
resume and take the man seriously?
You know
Like,
what? This
no.
is interesting. This is Putin. This just happened. I think it was posted today. Having trouble finding March
Before you
7th,
play it,
yesterday. It's not a
play
play.
it, I
Go
have a
ahead.
question.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I have a question about um allowing the Ukraine to become part of NATO.
Hmm.
Did Biden or,
They were basically telling they were here's what happened.
were they exploring it openly or something?
First of all, you have to
'Cause I thought
understand the
we
fact
weren't.
that since that was promised to the Soviet Union or
Hmm.
Russia when they
Long
disbanded.
time ago.
Yeah, it was I don't think it was Soviet Union. I think it was Russia after they'd already
Okay.
disbanded. But they basically said we won't move NATO eastward and we're
Okay.
not gonna and since then
Hmm.
NATO has gained 17 members and they've all been east. So we've added
Oh, damn.
17 countries that
Did
were
did
some of
Candace say
which
that and I
she
missed it
didn't.
or no?
No.
Okay.
No, she didn't.
17?
17. So you got like your, I don't know if they're like the Lithuania. I don't know all the
Sure,
countries, but
sure.
it's a lot of those Eastern Bloc countries, former Eastern Bloc countries, all NATO. So it's not like
Okay.
Putin doesn't have a history to go off here. But mind you,
Yeah.
Ukraine is a big country and it's right next to Russia and happens to have one of Russia's only ports on the Black Sea that enters the Mediterranean.
Hmm.
So it's kind of important to
Right.
and Russia would consider that historically Ukraine has been Russian, and that's true. At least a big swath of eastern Ukraine was historically Russian. They speak Russian,
Hmm.
like they
Yeah.
want to be Russian,
Yeah.
and they were being persecuted by Zelensky. Nobody talks about that. He'd send his gangs in, and he'd beat the shit out of them, and they'd fake elections, and all the in some of these Russia bordering. I don't know if they're province. I think they're provinces or something. Whatever they are that
Okay.
in Ukraine. So, and those are the ones that Russia's taken back now, and that
Hmm.
Russia's not going to give back. Those are going to stay Russian. But they
Hmm.
always kind of were Russian, like they're
Yeah.
ethnic Russian. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Well, here's this just happened yesterday, and
Okay.
it was on Croatian television channel for Vladimir Putin, the evil monster from the deep. Vladimir Putin was allowed to speak. I don't know why anyone would ever allow him to speak, but somebody let Putin talk. And this is what he said. He addressed Europeans
Okay.
and he said, quote, Russia has never been and will never be your enemy. We do not want European raw materials and wealth. We have our own raw materials and wealth. We absolutely do not need your raw materials. Russia is the richest country in the world in terms of raw materials.
Hmm.
We do not want your land or your territory. Look at how wide Russia is on the map. Russia is twice the size of the whole of Europe in one place.
Right.
What would we need your land for? What would we do with it? Why do you
Wait,
think
this Putin said this?
this monster? I don't know why they let him talk. Why do you think Russia is an enemy of Europe? What damage has Russia done to you? Have we sold you gas and raw materials at lower than the prices at which your friends are currently selling you? Yes. Did Russia sacrifice 20 million people in World War II to get rid of the Nazis? Yes. Did we help Europe when there were fires and natural disasters? Yes. What has Russia done to you that you hate it so much? Russia is not your enemy. Your real enemy are your leaders, those who lead you. End of quote
Holy
of the monster
crap.
from the deep.
Wow. Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
pretty good, right?
I mean, Todd,
Bunch of propaganda. He's a liar. You can't
what
trust him.
what if we've been lied to?
I'm telling you.
That's crazy. That is a big script flip. It really is. We've talked about this before, ages and ages ago. We talked about how we grew up during the, Russia is all the movies would show
Right.
it's the US versus Russia,
Mm-hmm.
The Rocky movie fighting the Russian. It was
Yeah.
always
Well, it's Cold
um
War.
right.
We grew
So,
up in the Cold War.
Yeah, so
And it was
we had
baked into us. I
it
mean,
was baked in.
we
We've
had
been
like, remember
programmed
the
our
nuclear fallout like drills in school? Like, well, just
Yep,
get under your desk.
under
That'll
your
save you
desk.
from the radioactive
From the
poison.
Russians.
No worries.
I know that's wild. I
We
mean,
had
I think
movies about Russia taking over, or television series about Russia taking over
yep,
America, miniseries.
right.
There was like a big one in the 80s. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like it was a big miniseries and it was all about Russia taking over the US.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
real
really?
popular. Everybody's watching. I can't remember what it was called.
I can't remember. I can't think of it, but
Yeah, I
that's
mean it's the whole
crazy.
thing. But you're right. Rocky
We
5, Rocky 4, that was
it's been
85.
baked into us for sure. So, wow. So the boomers must be that under that impression as well.
Yeah.
Let's put this back on the boomers.
I think it's their fault.
Sorry, Mom. Just kidding.
It's
I'm so glad you shared, gosh, the Candace clip and the Putin quote.
kind of interesting, right? This is the thing you sent me from Instagram. I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
It's from Trump, right?
Yep, from the speech. I
It's
thought it
Trump from
kind
the
of
speech. Okay.
so glad he said this.
I'm going to see if I can get this up. Oh, what?
See if we can hear it.
Yeah, see if I can even get it to play.
In front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy
The
or
Democrats.
to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a
It's so
disease
great that
that
this
would
isn't a
wipe
State of
out
Union.
entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
He's right.
So,
It
Democrats.
is true. It's
Oh,
true.
this one you got to hear this.
Okay.
This is a little bit this is Megyn Kelly. MK.
Okay. MK.
Cover your ears, darling. Cover
Oh,
the
no.
kids' ears. She's
Okay.
talking about John Fetterman.
Does she rant? Oh,
Fetterlump.
Pennsylvania representative.
had a stroke.
Governor? Is he a
No,
governor?
he's a senator.
Senator.
Only wears
thank
hoodies
you.
and shorts.
Yeah.
Occasionally sounds coherent though, and right on some things, which is weird. He's
Yes.
one of those weird ones that'll surprise you with some. There was some talk that he could switch parties and join
Yeah,
the.
he dares to speak common sense sometimes.
But then he's
and it's
ridiculous
like,
at times too.
Yeah.
One of the things he's ridiculous on, I think, and this is what I think Megan is talking about here,
Okay.
is his position on the whole trans thing. That's
Okay.
that's the hill that the Democrats have decided they're going to die
That's
on.
fine.
Like,
Let him die
that's-
on it.
That's
Sorry.
where they're gonna. That's
For-
where this war is going to be over.
For
It's
this
not-
manufactured microscopic percentage of our population.
but
Let
it
him
really,
do it.
I really think that's what they're gonna. I mean, it seems like that's what they're gonna do.
Okay.
They aren't backing down. You know what I mean? Like this is where they're going and what they're doing,
Okay.
and so
Maybe Fetterman likes to wear skirts in private. I don't know.
let's listen to Megan.
I've
Megan-
definitely been in Todd's world too long today.
He might. I don't know. You never know, John. He had
Yeah.
that lump. Remember, he had that lump on the back of his neck after
Yeah,
a stroke
he's-
for a while. Fetter lump.
He is. He's like a
Okay.
cartoon, man. Okay.
Oh, it's only 30 seconds.
Say about it. Pennsylvania. Fuck you, John Fetterman. You act like you're a man of the people. You're going to look out for the weak. You get it. You don't get shit. You really don't. That
Cover
part of
your
your brain
ears.
still appears to be injured because you're going to let all these little girls go out there and get a traumatic brain injury. You, of all people who understand what a brain injury can do, screw you and your working class appeal. You don't get it at all. Say about it.
It was about
Wow.
men and women's sports. So it
Yep.
was a trans thing, but it was
she
that
just rants.
specifically. She doesn't like Fetter lump. She
Lord
she-
forgive us.
she really doesn't. She's not a fan at
Oh,
all.
jeez. Wow.
So I don't know. What do you that they want to defend this men and women's sports thing is it's shocking. I shouldn't be. I don't know why it's shocking to me. Of course they want to defend this, but I
No,
just
I think it's
such a
shocking. So
loser.
It's such a loser. And I think I think what they should, if they wanted to save their ass and also not sound like they don't care about, the safety of young women,
Hmm.
I think they could simply come out and say, I support everyone's right to transition if that's what they believe they need to do. But I just don't think they should be allowed to compete in girls' sports. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, I'm
also,
sorry, we're talking about like a handful of people.
well, they're doing a lot of
Unless
damage.
unless they're guys who are truly trying to like mess with, like that, like the swimmer. I'm
Well, did
sorry.
you hear? Wasn't it Trump during Trump's speech? He talked about that chick, uh,
The
the
girl, the volleyball
volleyball thing.
player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who got like severely messed up
Yeah.
from getting hit by a ball by this dude.
It was bad. It was
And
really horrible.
that, I mean, I think that's what that's what Federlump was responding to,
Okay.
and that's what
Yeah.
MK
It's not
was
okay.
there for excoriating Federlump for.
Yep.
We got that. Everybody on the same page.
MK went on a rant. Oh gosh.
That's why I told everybody cover your ears.
Yeah, you did.
I
I
don't
didn't.
use that kind of.
I turned it up and was shocked. Shocked.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
I just don't understand. But why would you put anything past the Democrats at this point,
I don't know.
right?
I just you know what? It's they're just inflexible. They won't even have a conversation about it. They just like to say, "Oh, you're sexist or you're
Yeah,
transphobic or whatever they want to call it." I don't get it.
hate speech, blood
Yeah.
and gore. That's what I get on TikTok. Every time I post a clip of our show, they're like it's limited to 18 and over because of blood and gore, and I'm like, our show?
We're
What do you
we're
mean?
neither bloody nor gory, but okay.
And then I appeal it, and then like 2 hours later they approve it.
Okay.
But it's just they don't let it do it.
Yeah,
It's just
that I know. I don't know.
it's fun. This is Trump. Here's what we're gonna end with. Let's
Okay.
end with
Let's end with Trump, our illustrious, brave, steel-spined leader.
yeah. I do want to hear Trump.
Can't
I
believe she
also
called him
kind of want
spineless.
to
That's
hear.
wild.
This is real short though. Let's hear a little Bernie.
Oh, oh no.
Let's feel
Is
the
it about
burn
the
for a few
onesies?
minutes.
Is it
No,
about
we'll
the
add that
onesies?
on at the back though. Don't worry.
Who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving. So nobody who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving Social Security checks.
Now we know.
Oh, he's just denying it outright?
Yeah, he knows. He's been through all the records. He knows.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
They are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way.
Can you believe
Next
it?
one is No
Do you support
Vax,
these
No
ones?
Problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for
It never gets
$26,
old.
which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are
The best thing about this clip in the video is
pro-vaccine,
Megyn Kelly
that you're going to
behind him,
have
just
your
behind
organization
RFK.
take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
That was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that.
Most certainly
Are
have
you
power.
supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
So
I'm
you
supportive of
support-
vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will
vaccines.
not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so that's obviously a flashback, everyone, but man, that's hilarious.
It never gets
Do
old.
you support these onesies?
Oh, we'll let that
So
Trump. This
funny.
is good. This
That's
is really
so
good.
funny.
This is this speech. So we're gonna let Trump
Okay.
mic drop.
And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good.
I don't know how you can't love it. I just don't know.
How did that work out? Great.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back.
As it should be.
Unless you're questioning Israel. Then no questions for you. And I should make clear on that. For me, it's always about the government of Israel. I don't think necessarily that the Jews are flawed as a race. I don't think it's anything like that. But I think that the nation of Israel and our government, our globalist government of America that we've had up until Trump, are parts of the same thing. I don't, and they're just corrupt as can be. So I don't think they're corrupt because they happen to be Jewish or because they happen to be German or they happen to be Dutch or they happen to be American. I just think they're corrupt.
It's the people in power. Yeah, it's not the people. It's the people in power. The Ukrainians, those poor people, whatever they want, they want. It's the people in power over them. We need to end the war.
It's just, Trump is right. The killing needs to end. Nothing's being gained.
And who called it out, what you just said, but Putin saying it's your leaders. That's so wild.
He's been saying those kinds of things. It's
really
just
crazy.
Like,
wow.
We'll see.
I wonder if that guy's just shaking his head like, can you believe what they're saying about me? Still? That's funny.
Well, you saw the posturing this week from all the European leaders. Like, they're going to take over the war, and they're going to take over their own defense, and they don't even need America. And I'm like, dude, my friends, my European socialist friends, you don't get to have your socialism and build a military at the same time. You're going to have to choose. You're going to have to choose which you like better.
Well, Zelensky would say, yeah, you just have to drive around in the evenings and scoop people up and throw them into a van. That's how you build your military. That was wild. That video. Damn.
There's tons of them out there, too. Like, I picked one, but there's plenty of videos out there. It's all over the place.
It's terrifying.
Do we feel like we're on the side of truth and right and justice?
Right. Like, yikes. I don't know.
It's not the posters I remember of Uncle Sam Needs You, right?
I know. Someone should make a cartoon of the van, Uncle Sam inside going, come on in. We need you. We need you in this van.
Well, listen, Carrie, I think we did what we could today. You did a fabulous job. I'm so happy to have you back. I didn't promote my books at all, and I should have. People, get out and buy my books on Amazon.
His books are good.
The new one that's out is 9 Mile Point, and I'm telling you, it's a hell of a yarn. It's a good novel. You're going to enjoy it.
Quality Todd's World propaganda. Go buy the books.
Yeah, you're going to like it. There's other books too. Insurrection Witness, Leaves the Blue Way. Leaves the Blue Way is a great book, but those are two different kinds of books. It's a memoir versus just a novel. 9 Mile Point is so much fun. I really think you guys are going to love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Go to the socials and check us out. I post clips. You can get us on TikTok. You can get it for a while.
Maybe
for a week.
For a few minutes. There might be a few minute window there where you
We're posting all of these on X, all of these on YouTube.
Yeah.
The videos on Spotify. If I can ever figure Apple out, I'll get the video up on Apple.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I feel like we should
The audio's still off.
Apple. It's all off. I went to listen to something and it was from like 2 years ago.
I know. I don't know. And it's all the time that I fix things and they screw it up again.
I don't know if Apple's doing it intentionally, but the menu is all jacked up. So just when I'm sharing, but I keep forgetting about X. I could easily share.
X is great.
Because I need to share with people in easy, accessible ways. X is perfect.
X is great because it's all on there. So basically, when I put those clips, if you go to the first comment, it's the full video episode.
Yep.
So they can click right on and go.
Perfect. I'll do that. That's easy. I like I listen on Substack, but I know everyone isn't on Substack. Yeah. And so I usually share Spotify because it's been pretty reliable and they have the video. But X is even better.
X and YouTube too, I think I'm struggling to get there, but I kind of am freshly building from YouTube because I didn't do
Okay.
much with YouTube. I just was worried about censorship with everything that went through
How,
COVID.
yeah, how's it going so far? Is it fine?
Yeah, I don't get much for views. I don't know that
Okay.
but see, I don't know if that's because I'm just getting
Yeah.
videos on there. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's really, and I've promoted it a lot, but it seems really hard for me to push people to YouTube. I don't know why that would be, but
I think the easiest way to push people to YouTube is just to put the YouTube link
that's what I
in a
do in the
post.
clips.
Okay. And people don't
But I'm
go.
just saying,
Okay.
I don't
Got
notice
it.
like what I did is I kind of shifted from putting the Substack link in to putting the YouTube link in.
Yep.
And by and large, I've just seen Substack listener, like viewership drop. And I haven't seen a
Oh, okay.
corresponding rise in YouTube.
Okay.
While X has been strong and is continuing to be strong.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to put them on Rumble. I haven't completely figured
Okay.
out Rumble yet, but I think Rumble is a good option too. As kind of a
Well, and our
conservative.
listeners should check out Substack. It's a neat platform. Free speech, creative, a lot of cool
Substack is
creatives
great.
on
You know
there.
what though? They need to support video podcasts, and
Yeah.
they don't right now. If they did that,
Okay.
I love Substack.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the video, they still have audio only podcast, which is
Okay.
fine if people want. I listen to it that way too, because a lot of times I'm listening, I don't want to watch the video because I'm working
Mm-hmm.
or I'm doing whatever. But
Right.
and like YouTube, at least for me, I can't like black my phone out, like
Mm-hmm.
sleep it, and still listen to YouTube.
Same. Yeah. Oh, that may be why people don't always listen because, yeah, same thing. Unless you have premium, the screen has to be on.
Right. And
So,
so that's kind of annoying.
yeah,
But I mean, it's fine if people
maybe
are
it's better
watching
for
it.
the shorts. Yeah, maybe it's better for the shorts.
So
Sorry, this is like a little
sorry,
business
guys,
meeting.
you get a little bit of inside baseball here at the end of Todd's world.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna let you
Thanks,
go.
Todd.
Thanks for joining us. It was
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Happy
Great.
35th. You
I'm
look
so
amazing.
happy to have Carrie back. We're
Thanks for having
forging
me.
on into Todd's world, into areas where people fear to tread, where fools go,
I
where
know.
angels dare to tread.
We're so brave.
All right, guys, catch Beers with Jesus tomorrow. Carrie's back, and it's going to be great. It always is.
Thank you.
All right,
See
guys,
you then.
we'll see you next week.